The bold and the beautiful. The ghost of Sheila Carter. Rain hammered down on the asphalt like gunfire. Thunder rolled across the Los Angeles skyline as a lone figure stumbled in the dark toward the far end of a dimly lit parking lot. A flash of lightning revealed a face twisted in pain. Sheila Carter. Blood soaking through her coat. A bullet lodged somewhere deep inside her chest. She collapsed onto the wet pavement, hand reaching out into the void. She tried to call for help, but her voice was lost in the storm. By the time Deacon Sharp arrived, she was barely conscious. He had been pacing the bar after closing, uneasy, unsure why. A strange pull had led him outside, down the alley, and into the lot. And there she was, Sheila. The woman he'd loved, hated, feared, and somehow needed. Her body broken, eyes fluttering. He dropped to his knees beside her, hands trembling, soaked in her blood. She tried to speak. A name. A whisper. Then silence. Deacon's cry for help shattered the night. By the time paramedics arrived, Sheila was gone. Not dead, just gone. The ambulance had never been called. No sirens. No flashing lights. Only Deacon's raw, desperate voice echoing against the concrete. When the police finally arrived, hours later, there was blood, bullet casings, and Deacon's frantic account, but no body, no signs of a struggle, no footprints, nothing. The rain had washed everything clean. Detective Sanchez wasn't convinced. Neither was Ridge Forrester. But the facts, what few there were, started pointing in a disturbing direction. The bullet found lodged in a nearby wall was matched through ballistics to a weapon confiscated years ago during a sting operation on an underground surgical ring, an operation that had allegedly been dismantled by Dr. Lee Finnegan herself. That very gun had gone missing from the evidence locker months later. And Lee had filed the report. Now, it was the murder weapon. Finn felt the walls closing in. On one side, his mother, Lee, cold and clinical, a woman who'd faked Sheila's death once before. On the other, Steffi, fierce and protective, convinced this was no coincidence. And somewhere in between, the ghost of Sheila Carter, haunting every breath he took. Finn had vowed to save lives, not be caught in the middle of one taken, or worse, one staged. Because that was the real question now, was Sheila actually dead? The morgue reported receiving a body matching Sheila's description. But less than 24 hours later, the body was gone. Vanished. Not signed out. Not transferred. No surveillance footage. Just an empty drawer and a dead security guard who suffered a sudden cardiac arrest right before the disappearance. Steffi believed Sheila was gone for good. Shot in the heart, literally and metaphorically. A final act of justice served, though she didn't want to admit it openly. Still, something gnawed at her. Sheila had cheated death too many times. Deacon spiraled. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. All he saw was her face, the way she looked at him that last moment. Not afraid, not pleading, but knowing. She'd known it was coming. She'd accepted it, or maybe orchestrated it. Was it possible Sheila staged the whole thing? Had she planned this death as an escape? Or had someone used the perfect storm, rain, rage, and old secrets, to eliminate her once and for all? Deacon became obsessed. He revisited the crime scene night after night. He dug through every contact Sheila had in the city's underworld. Every old enemy, every grudge. And one name kept coming back, Lee. Dr. Lee Finnegan, the woman who had once declared Sheila unfit to be called a mother. The woman who had let everyone believe Sheila was dead in the past. The woman whose stolen gun now sat in a police evidence bag, smeared with rain-diluted blood. Finn confronted her. "Tell me it wasn't you," he said. Lee didn't answer immediately. Her hands trembled slightly. Not from fear. From restraint. "I protect my family," she said finally. "That's all I'll say." Finn's heart cracked. If Lee had done this, if she had taken justice into her own hands, what did that mean for him? For his oath? For his own morality? And worse, what if she hadn't? What if someone else had? Someone with a deeper, older vendetta? Taylor Hayes had returned to town weeks before the shooting. She had kept her distance, but she had watched Deacon and Sheila with growing concern. Taylor knew what Sheila was capable of. More importantly, she remembered what Sheila had done to her daughter. And her grandson. It wasn't hard to imagine Taylor snapping. Not after everything. Not after seeing Sheila walk free again, playing house with Deacon, pretending to be human. But Ridge refused to believe it. Taylor was many things but not a killer. Steffi wasn't so sure. "Mom would do anything for us," she told Finn. "She proved that before." "But that's just it," Finn said. "If she did it, why disappear the body? Why cover it up?" That's when another theory emerged. What if it wasn't justice? What if it wasn't vengeance? What if it was strategy? Steffi began to wonder if the body had been taken to protect someone else. Maybe not the shooter, but someone they loved. And the idea that Taylor had staged the whole thing, fired a single shot, meant to wound but not kill, then panicked, suddenly didn't seem so far-fetched. But the medical examiner's initial report, before the body vanished, had clearly indicated a fatal injury. The bullet had pierced the heart. There was no way Sheila survived that. Unless the bullet wound had been staged. Or the report faked. Or the body in the drawer wasn't even Sheila's at all. Ridge went back to Bill Spencer. He hated it, but Bill had the kind of access, the kind of surveillance, the kind of power to dig into places no cop could reach. And if Sheila was alive, if this was some elaborate ruse, Bill would find her. But Bill had his own theory. This wasn't about Sheila, he told Ridge. This was about Deacon. Someone wanted her out of the way because he was starting to matter to her. She was changing, and someone couldn't let that happen. Ridge scoffed. You think Sheila was redeemable? I think people get dangerous when they realize they're losing the one thing they care about. Bill said. And right now, that's not Sheila. It's Deacon. That's when everything turned. Deacon received a note. No handwriting. No fingerprints. Just 5 words. You saw what you saw. Nothing more. No signature. No date. No explanation. But it shook him. Because he had seen Sheila dying. He had held her as she bled. He had felt her last breath. Hadn't he? The note came with a photo. Grainy. Black and white. Taken from a distance. But unmistakable. Sheila. Walking through a desert town. Hood pulled over her head. Alone. Alive. Now, everything's unraveling. Finn is caught between 2 mothers. One whose silence screams guilt. And one whose shadow won't stay buried. Steffi wants to protect her family. But she's starting to believe Sheila isn't just alive. She's watching them. Waiting. Ridge is torn between defending Taylor and exposing a truth that could destroy her. Bill is hunting shadows while Deacon is chasing ghosts. And somewhere out there, in the ruins of a stormy night, a woman with 9 lives may be preparing to reclaim her 10th. Because if Sheila Carter is alive, she won't stay hidden for long. And if she isn't, then someone is wearing her face. And The Bold and the Beautiful has just begun its darkest chapter yet. The Bold and the Beautiful. Silence in the shadows. The air in the morgue had been cold. But that night, it burned. Deacon stood frozen beside the empty slab where Sheila Carter's body had once laid. If only for a moment. That was before the body disappeared. Before the police arrived too late. Before the city slipped into another storm of scandal and suspicion. Everything changed the moment he leaned closer to Sheila's lifeless body that night and caught it. Faint, but unmistakable. The scent. A fragrance he recognized. Taylor Hayes's perfume. The same one she wore that night at Il Giardino. The same one that clung to her scarf when he held her after their first kiss. The same one now lingering on the dead woman's skin. At first, Deacon tried to deny it. Maybe it transferred. Maybe it was a trick of memory, a coincidence, a false connection in the chaos. But deep down, his instincts screamed the truth. Taylor had been there. Taylor had killed Sheila. He didn't know how. He didn't know why. But he knew it with every cell in his body. The perfume wasn't just on her, it was embedded into the fibers of Sheila's jacket, fresh and recent. Too fresh for a chance encounter. It was contact. Close. Intimate. Direct. He said nothing. The investigation went on. Theories swirled, about Lee, about old enemies, about a hit gone wrong. No one mentioned Taylor. She was above suspicion, beyond reproach. A healer. A mother. A woman who had already paid a price in blood for Sheila's past sins. But Deacon knew. He could see it now in the way she looked at him. Eyes always a second too soft. Touches just a little too careful. She was hiding something, and the guilt was beginning to rise behind her mask like water behind glass. Still, he stayed silent. He should have gone to the police. He should have told them what he'd smelled, what he'd seen, what he'd suspected. But he didn't. He couldn't. He loved her. Taylor had been a balm to his pain, a steadying hand in his spiraling world. She had seen the man beneath the wreckage. Not the ex-con. Not the alcoholic. Not the fool who once clung to a dream of Sheila's redemption. She had seen him, and for the first time in years, Deacon felt worthy of something real. But the cost of that love was silence. Each day, the weight grew heavier. Each time Finn came to him asking questions. Each time Steffi speculated about Lee. Each time Ridge stormed in demanding justice. Deacon played dumb. He smiled. He nodded. He poured another drink. He changed the subject. But inside, it twisted. He dreamed of that night constantly. The rain. The gunshot. The blood. And Taylor, somewhere in the darkness, pulling the trigger. Was it rage? Fear? Protection? Revenge? Or was it for him? The idea gnawed at him. Had she done it for him? To free him from Sheila's grip? To kill the past and give their future a chance? Had she murdered a woman in cold blood because she believed Deacon was worth saving? He didn't ask. He couldn't, because if she admitted it, then he'd be forced to choose. Love or truth? Taylor sensed his distance. She began asking questions of her own. About his nightmares, his silences, his sudden bursts of affection followed by retreat. But Deacon brushed them aside. Told her he was haunted by old guilt. Which wasn't a lie, just not the whole truth. The thing he couldn't escape was that it hadn't been self-defense. He'd seen the crime scene. He knew the angles. Sheila had been shot from behind, close range. She hadn't even turned around. No struggle, no fight, just execution. Taylor had killed her deliberately. And Deacon had fallen in love with a woman capable of murder. Every day, he tried to justify it. Sheila had terrorized everyone. She had kidnapped, lied, faked her own death, tried to kill Steffi and Finn. She had earned her end. Maybe Taylor had just done what everyone else was too afraid to. Maybe this was justice, not vengeance. But justice didn't leave perfume behind. Justice didn't disappear the body. Justice didn't lie. That was murder. And yet Deacon said nothing. The guilt started to infect everything. At Il Giardino, he flinched when the cops walked in for lunch. At night, he stared into his glass too long. He started avoiding Finn, avoiding hope, avoiding questions. Then the dreams changed. Now, Sheila spoke. She didn't scream or cry. She just looked at him with that smug, knowing grin. "You knew," she whispered. "And you did nothing." Deacon would wake up in sweat, alone, choking on air. And still, he stayed with Taylor. Because she was kind. Because she brought calm into the storm. Because she held him without judgment. Because when she looked at him, she didn't see a man with blood on his hands. She saw someone worth saving. But what about her? Who was saving her? He began watching her more closely. Taylor smiled a little too quickly when the news reported on the stalled investigation. She changed the subject whenever Steffi brought up the case. Her hands sometimes shook when she thought no one was watching. At night, she'd sit on the balcony for hours, staring into the dark. She was unraveling too, and Deacon couldn't tell if he was protecting her or helping her self-destruct. Weeks passed. The case stalled. The trail went cold. No new evidence. No new sightings. Sheila Carter was officially declared dead by the state. But no body meant no closure. Theories died down. Life moved on. But not for Deacon. Not inside. One night, he walked into the bar after closing and found Taylor waiting. She wore the same perfume. He almost recoiled but smiled instead. She kissed him softly. Told him she loved him. Told him she was grateful for him. That she felt safe with him. Safe. That word hit him harder than a bullet. Because no one had been safe around Sheila. And now that she was gone, Deacon realized neither was the truth. He poured them each a drink. They talked about hope, about Ridge, about Steffi, but the whole time the question burned at the back of his throat. Did you do it? He didn't ask, and that became the moment he knew he would never ask. Because the answer didn't matter anymore. The guilt was his to carry now. The silence was his prison. And the woman he loved, the one who might have killed for him, would never know how close he came to turning her in. Or how every time he touched her, he felt Sheila's blood on his hands. He smiled again. Then kissed Taylor like it was the last time. Because in a way, it always was. And outside, the rain began to fall again.